Hello, everyone. It's iCurlyCae here, and today we're actually going to be covering candlestick anatomy. And let's go ahead and get right into it. This is going to be something that I think is going to help a lot of traders along their journey just by knowing the psychology behind candlestick patterns, as well as just being able to visualize what they actually represent. So what we're going to focus on is going to be the left and the right hand side of the chart, not so much the middle. And the simple reason why we're not going to focus too much on the middle is because that's a neutral setup, which basically means that it can go either way. But what we are going to cover really quickly is going to be the OHLC, or the open, high, low, and close of a candle. So hopefully this helps to understand and help us to push forward and move forward with what we're learning today. So very first, for a bullish candlestick pattern, what you'll notice is that the open is always going to be lower than where it closed. Just think about pressure pushing to the upside. So in order for it to be bullish, it has to close above the open. Now, there are also two other parts to a candle, which is going to be the high, which is going to be the highest point of that candle, and then the low, which is the lowest point of the candle. And anytime you see a wick, it basically represents, a collapse level of buying or selling pressure. So it went this high, but then it pulled back, or it went this low and then it pulled back. So your open and close is going to be the body, and then your high and low is just basically showing you where we pulled back from. Now, on the flip side, when you're looking at a bearish candlestick pattern, it's going to be the opposite. Everything except for the high and the low. Those are going to be the same. But when it comes to a bearish candlestick pattern, think about falling, right? The open is always going to be higher than where the candle actually closed. So hopefully that helps you to understand the OHLC, or the open, high, low, and close. Now, when it comes to the psychology behind candlestick patterns, I'm just going to run through this really simply. At the very top, in the middle, you see that there's a Maribozu candle, but there's not a lot of wick to it. So let's just say the left is bullish and the right is bearish. The candle opened here on the bullish side, and then there was nothing but buying pressure for the entire candle, okay? And then for the bearish candle, or the candle in which you would do puts on, there was nothing but selling pressure the entire candle. So no wick is present because it was just a lot of pressure that entire candle. Now, let's actually go over to the left-hand side of the chart, and hopefully things will start to click. Now, I do see that there are 3 candles prior to the hammer candle. And no, that doesn't mean that it has to be 3 candles present in order to validate it or qualify it as a hammer. It basically is just representing that the candlestick is pushing to the downside, right? Now, in order for anything on this side to represent a bullish reversal, the key word is to pay attention to the fact that it is a reversal. So in order for it to reverse, it has to at one point be moving to the opposite direction at which it reversed from. So in this case, it's moving to the downside. And then you see this hammer candle form. Very simple thing to visualize. It looks just like the tool that we use in our home, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love the hammer candle. And it's actually one of the main parts of my strategy. Now, psychologically, if we want to just view the hammer candle, let's just say it just like this. Just going to grab my drawing tool here and try to make it make sense for everyone, okay? So at one point, it went this low. And then the buyers actually stepped in and pulled it upwards. So that within itself is a candle that reversed on itself. Now, in order to validate this particular pattern, it's very important to understand that the next candle that follows has to break above the hammer candle. And as you see, that's exactly what happened. So that validates this as a bullish reversal pattern. It's very important to make note of that because sometimes you can see a hammer candle form, but then another bearish candle forms immediately after, which means that that candle was not validated. Now, if we look directly next to it, we'll see that there is an inverted hammer candle. Very much the same thing. It's just an upside down hammer candle. It still represents a reversal to the upside, and it is validated once the candle actually breaks above it, or the next candle breaks above it. Now, if we look directly next to that, we'll see that there is a dragonfly doji. It looks like a T, but psychologically, if you look at it the same way as we looked at the hammer candle, think of it like this. At one point, the sellers were in and they were able to push it all the way to the downside. That's my little arrow representing the downside. However, the buyers stepped in and was able to pull it to the upside. Okay, and that's the reason why it represents a bullish reversal pattern. And again, verified and validated by the next candle breaking above. Now, one thing that I would like to make note of is if we move over to the bearish side of things, your hanging man candle, which is this one right here, right? Your hanging man candle looks very much like your hammer candle, but the difference is where they are located on your chart, okay? So your hanging man candle actually forms in an uptrend. And you see it looks very much like a hammer candle, but it signals a reversal to the downside when the next candle actually breaks below. Now, again, these two things look very much alike, the hammer and the hanging man, but the difference is, the major difference is where they are located on the chart, okay? One is a bullish reversal and the other one is bearish. Now, also with that being said, the shooting star candle looks very much like the inverted hammer candle. But again, the location of where they're formed on the chart actually mean quite a lot. So I'm just going to remove this off of the chart. Hopefully everyone is following so far. Now we have the gravestone doji. This looks like an upside down T. So one of the reasons why I like everything at the top of this particular chart is because it's so visually understandable. So I'll get back into it. The gravestone doji just looks like an upside down T. It's a representation of a bearish reversal pattern. Now, when you look at these particular things, let's just talk about it. At one point, the shooting star candle went this high. And then the sellers actually stepped in and pulled it back down. So psychologically, that basically means there is a presence of a opposing party to the direction that it was going that's pulling it back to the opposite direction. So that within itself can let you know, hey, there may be sellers stepping in and pushing this thing in the opposite direction. So if you're in, for example, calls and you see this particular pattern form, then you can say to yourself, okay, this thing may be getting ready to reverse. If I'm in calls and I'm profitable, it may be time for me to actually secure my profit. Or if you're looking to get into a trade and you see this particular setup, you can say to yourself, I can prepare myself for the possibility of this pattern pushing to the downside. Now, these are great things to actually have in your arsenal to help you along your trading journey. But outside of that, one other thing that I would like to say is that make it fun. Make learning these particular setups on this particular chart, make it fun for yourself. For example, with me, I like to look at the bullish kicker pattern or the bearish kicker pattern like a parent, right? So we see, and if we were to see any, candles form on this chart, on this little picture that we have here working for us, we would see that it's a bearish pattern that formed first. And then we kind of have like the parent that kicked the kid out of the house. And then the kid said, you know what, mom or dad, I'm going to go and make something of myself. And then they actually do well and move, move out, get their own place, move to the upside. Do little tricks like that to help you to understand what you're viewing on this particular chart. Now, I'm not going to go over every single thing on here because one of the things that I like to teach traders is, number one, it's not important for you to know every pattern on this chart. What's important is for you to fall in love with quite a few of these setups, maybe 3 or 4 setups, so that you have a few things that you can actually, toggle between. It's important for you to know a few so that you can actually go down your watch list, seek out the particular patterns that are very easy for you to understand, and then prepare yourself for those particular trades on those securities that are forming those patterns. Now, one other one that I like at the very bottom is going to be the bullish abandoned baby and the bearish abandoned baby. The reason why is because, much like the bullish kicker, it looks like they just kicked the baby out the house, right? They kicked the baby out the house, and then some lovely person found the child and gave them a better life. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes we have to do these little things to help us to understand what we're seeing, to make it fun, make trading enjoyable. I do love the morning star and the evening star as well. The morning star doji, the evening star doji, or even just the evening star pattern or the morning star pattern. So with the doji, it's a very simple pattern. So we're going to just move to the middle really quickly. Now, a doji within itself, it's just a representation of indecision. If you think of it like this candle went this high, it went this low, but the open and close are essentially the same. So at one point, the bulls were winning, one point, the bears were winning, but then neither one of them could really take control, right? So typically, the next candle that forms after a doji can kind of tell you the direction that it has a possibility of going in. Very simple strategy. But the morning doji star, it basically gives you indecision. And then the next candle that breaks above it can kind of let you know, hey, we may be moving to the upside. Same thing on the evening starts. It's basically the same type of psychology behind it, but you're just basically understanding that it is the location that matters where that candle is formed. So hopefully this helps you. Thank you so much for watching my very first video on my channel. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and have an amazing day.